Welcome back to my workshop for the start of yet another exciting project. Now, as you can see, I've got this nice big pile of wood in front of me, and in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a bed. Years ago my father started the tradition of building beds. So every time every part of the family sort of split or grew, or all those sort of things that families do, and they needed more beds, he would do them. Now he's no longer with us, and so I've taken over that mantle. It so happens my daughter is about to move house, and so therefore she needs a new bed. So this is today's project. It's a rotten cold wet Saturday afternoon outside. I've got a couple of hours to do it. The plan is to try and do this from start to finish in 2 hours. Now, one of the questions I always get asked is how much of the raw materials. In this particular instance I've probably spent about £30 to £35 on wood, and I think you would struggle to find a decent bed base for £35, and this is going to be a lovely bed base. It's a fairly simple design, everybody should be able to do it, and if you can't do this bit you can certainly get a variation of it, and I'll show you the variations as we go. So without any further ado, we'll clear the workbench of all this wood and we'll start. So we'll start with the headboard, and this is going to be the top of the headboard. It's a lovely piece of English oak. I can say it's English oak because I know the sawmill that it came from. And if I asked him nicely, he could probably tell me which tree it was. I've got 2 legs which are going to fit one either side like that. So I've cut a tenon on the end here, and I now need to cut a mortise there. Now I'm going to do that using a router. Now everybody wants to know the sizes of the piece of wood that I use. So to start off I need 2 long legs. These are 80 centimetres long, and this is 45mm by 45mm. In England we would call this plain softwood. I think it's larch is the actual wood that it's made of. So I've marked up the 2 legs ready, and in between these 2 lines is going to be our tenon, or it's going to be our mortise hole. And I'm going to cut the mortise hole using a router. And doing this with a chisel just tidies up the ends. Look at that, perfect. So that's all the complicated woodwork done. I'm just going to get rid of all the pencil marks. So with the mortise and tenons cut, it's time to start assembling. Don't be shy with the amount of glue. The more glue you can get into that joint, the better. Now I don't have any clamps long enough to do this, so I'm going to use this ratchet strap, which is a perfectly good way of doing it. You just need to make sure that you protect the ends of the wood. And whilst that's drying, we'll do the next bit. That's going to fit there like that, and that's the bottom part of the base. That needs to be 40 centimetres between there and there. So we'll measure up 40 centimetres. And make sure we wipe off all this excess glue, get rid of that. And as far as the construction is concerned, that's the headboard done. I told you it was a simple design. Now the bottom of the bed is even simpler. We have a piece of wood 138 centimetres long, and then we have 2 legs 40 centimetres from top to bottom. They fit like that. And again, we'll glue and screw those. Now the only difference with these is obviously these ones, there's a possibility you'll see them. You probably won't see them because there'll be all the bedclothes over the top of it. But as my old woodwork teacher used to tell me, that if you can't hide it, you make a feature of it. So what we'll use is these little cut washers here, but we can't hide this bit. So we might as well make it look posh. Before you fix it permanently, it's always worth just checking to make sure you've got it square. Yep, that's pretty good. So there you are, we couldn't hide it, so we'll make it look smart. Now the key to holding this bed together are these brackets here. This one will fit there, allowing for the thickness of a piece of wood to go across there, and then this piece here fits on the piece of wood that goes this way, and so when you want to assemble the bed it just clips in like that. So these are 13 centimeters long. Our piece of wood is 14.5 centimeters, which means the hole at the top has got to be 15 mil from the top. Now I've already made a line along there, which is the thickness of the piece of wood that goes that way. So I'm just going to line that up, get it right, and then we'll just quickly mark these, and then I'll screw that into place, and there'll be one on each of the 4 legs. There's a couple of bits before we finish this end. We have a quantity of these, got 13 of these. I've got some little blocks of waste wood, which I'm just going to put in the corners there and there. So here we are, that's effectively the legs at the bottom of the bed done. So we've got 2 legs, a crossbar, a little block of wood in each corner, just so we can have a support for this rung that goes across the bottom of the bed. We'll then put a piece of wood there, and that will go all the way up to the headboard. So effectively, that's that piece done. We're cracking along. So now it's time to start on the sides. So once again, we have our pieces of wood 145 by 20, and it's 1,850 millimeters long. Now what I've done on these is I've looked to find, this is obviously the best side, so this is going to be the outside of the bed, and these, where I've made a mark, are going to be the inside of the bed. And I've put a V, so I know that this is going to be the top. So when I fit these brackets, I get them round the right way. Now there is a right and a wrong way round to fixing these brackets. If you look carefully, they've got a 1 and a 2 written on it, and you have to make sure you do get them round the right way, otherwise it becomes a little bit embarrassing. Now I'm using some little short thick screws. These are 20 mil before, and I'm not going to do them all the way up, not yet. So now we need to put these at either end of these 2 pieces of wood. Now for all intents and purposes, that's the construction of this finished. And all it comes down to is how you're going to finish it. Now you could paint it if you fancy a coloured bed, you could stain it, or I'm going to wax it. So I've just got this pot of beeswax, a soft cloth, and you start at one end and just gently work your way in little circular motions across the grain, and it's just going to protect the natural beauty of the grain. Well, there you go. It's taken about 2 hours or just under to assemble to this point. I've got some wax on the bits of wood, and I must admit it's starting to come up really quite nicely. So I'm now going to leave this overnight, let the glue dry, and then tomorrow I have a final wax, and then it's ready to assemble it. If you're interested in making one of these for yourself, I shall make a point of putting the cutting list with all the dimensions of all the bits of wood on my blog, and the details of which are on the bottom of the screen now. Well, this is starting to look quite good. Now, if you don't have the ability to cut mortise and tenons like I have here, there's nothing to stop you just putting a piece of wood that goes from there to there and just screwing it into these ends here. It's still going to look just as nice. If you make a feature of the screws, why not? And then that way, all you need in order to do something like this is the ability to cut in a straight line. I suppose it helps if you can measure as well. This is turning into a lovely piece of wood. It's quite addictive, just polishing it. I suppose really before I go and deliver this to my daughter, I perhaps should assemble it first, because it would be embarrassing if I've got it wrong. And if I did get it wrong, would I show you on video? That's another question. Right, let's see how we get on and see if we can assemble it. Now the last structural piece we need to put in is this piece here, and this just gives a bit of strength into the middle of the bed. Now this is a 4'6" bed. If you were making a 5-foot bed, you would also put another little leg, just a piece of wood down to there, screw it into there, just to support the centre. Now when we get the bed into place, we'll actually screw these into position, which will strengthen the whole thing up beautifully. I just want to make sure I've got them all the right length. Well, looks like I need one more there, but I'll tell you what, that's not bad. Ooh. Without a mattress, it does wonders for a stiff back. So there you go. As a piece of woodwork, or should I say as a piece of woodwork that's useful, this is about as simple as it gets. And yet you end up with something that will last you for years, and it will always be in demand. And having slept on something very similar to this for a good number of years now, I can tell you just how comfortable they are. Hopefully you've enjoyed what is really quite a simple project. You never know, you might even have a go at doing one yourself. So if you've enjoyed this video, have a look at some of the other ones on my channel. You never know, you might even enjoy those as well. Thanks for watching, goodbye.